What's going on, family? It's your brother, your friend, your son, your grandson, your nephew, your uncle. It's your boy, Abir Yisrael, and I'm back again with another video. Or as my other pseudonym is Patah Williams 901, which used to be my YouTube channel name, but I recently changed it. So, like I said, it's your brother, Abir Yisrael, and I'm back with another video. Actually doing a video on a weekday as opposed to doing it on the weekend. And I just been getting so much good information and seeing so many people coming out with information. And like I said, it's very good information, and it uplifts my spirit. So I felt like instead of waiting until the weekend to do this video, I could do it now because I'm in such great spirits. Well, I wouldn't say I'm just completely in, great spirits, but as opposed to how low energy and low vibrational I usually feel, I'm in great spirits. So with that being said, this video is going to be about this video is going to be for those of you who have not read Second Ezra, or as some scholars or whatever you want to call it Fourth Ezra. For some reason, some people call it third, some people call it second, some people call it fourth. So that's neither here nor there. But if you're like me and you've never read there's a lot of great information in Second Esdras. And I recently started reading it. I want to say like the beginning of this week. I want to say like Monday. And there was so much interesting information that I was like, I can't not make a video about this because it was really eye-opening. And like I said, it was very interesting to read. Even though I didn't finish it, I had to stop because I wanted to share this with, my people. So I stopped reading it so we can all be like a little kid in a candy store, or a person that's hearing a new song for the first time and it becomes their favorite song because it's just that good. So I wanted it to be something special. I wanted us all to share a special moment, and I wanted us to all feel the message together for the first time. Like I said, if this video is really for those who haven't read Second Ezra yet. But the information that it pertains to it goes further, or it expounds on the narrative or the subject of Israel being cursed, Israel being exiled, but also Yisrael being redeemed. So it starts out rough, very rough. It starts out rough for the people of Yisrael or Israel. But as I continued reading, as I read further on, it started to get better. And the thing about Esdras is that, and there's two ways you can pronounce it. It's Ezra or Esdra. So in the pseudepigrapha, it's spelled Esdra, but in the Bible it's spelled Ezra. But it's the same person or the same book. So what was I saying? The thing about second Esdras is, it puts you in in the story, basically. It's like you become Ezra in the second book of Ezra, because it gives you a picture of Ezra questioning the Most High and having conversations with the angels of the Most High and asking some pretty valid questions, but also getting pretty valid answers, reasonable answers. And these answers aren't ordinary, plain answers, basically. They're very cryptic in a way, but they're also it also, the way the answers are posed to you, it makes you think, and it gives you a broader perspective. It gives you a deeper look into the ways of the Most High and the commandments of the Most High. And that's what I like about the second book of Esdras. Because when the question is asked or the question is posed, the answer is not just a plain and simple, cut and dry answer. The answer is answered in a way that it teaches you, and it also helps you to gain knowledge and to gain wisdom and to gain understanding. It gives you a better understanding. So that's why I wanted to make this video, and that's what I'm going to do now. So let me go to the title page. The Lost Book of the Bible, the Rejected Text, Apocrypha, and Pseudepigrapha, or Pseudepigrapha. And we're going to go down. I've already done the Apocalypse of Abraham and the Apocalypse of Thomas. I've also done the Apocalypse of Elijah. I think there's an Apocalypse of Adam too. I don't think it's in this book though. That's the Apocryphon of John. All right, so I'm going to go down to 4th Ezra, which is supposedly the second book of Ezra. Ezra, or Esdras in ancient Greek, which makes up most of 2nd Esdras, is a Jewish apocalypse, also sometimes known as the Jewish Apocalypse of Ezra. It was cited by the church fathers. It is not to be confused with the Greek Apocalypse of Ezra. So it's basically saying the Jewish Apocalypse of Ezra and the Greek Apocalypse of Ezra are two different things. Why? I'm not sure why I would say that, but if we actually read both books all the way through, we would probably understand why they say they're not to be confused. Jerome and the medieval Latin manuscripts designated this manuscript 4th Esdras, while some early Latin manuscripts designated it 3rd Esdras. The manuscripts Jerome designated 1st and 2nd Esdras became designated Ezra and Nehemiah in more recent times. 4th Ezra appears in the appendix to the Old Testament in the Slavonic Bible, where it is named 3rd Esdras or 3rd Esdras. The Ethiopian Church considers 4th Ezra canonical. The last two sections of 4th Ezra are often referred to 6th Ezra by scholars. They are found in the Latin text, but absent in the Eastern text. All right, let me get some water and we're going to get started. All right, so this is 4th Ezra chapter 1. Verse 1. The second book of the prophet Ezra, the son of Sariah, the son of Azariah, the son of Hilkiah, the son of Willem, the son of Zadok, the son of Ahitub, the son of Ahiyah, son of Phinehas, son of Elah, son of Amariah, son of Azariah, son of Merioth, son of Arna, son of Uzi, son of Borith, son of Abishua, son of Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, of the tribe of Levi, who was a captive in the country of the Medes, in the reign of Xerxes, the king of the Persians. The truth came to me. Declare their evil deeds to my people. Declare to their children the wrongdoings which they have committed against me, so that they may tell their children's children that the sins of their parents have increased in them, and they have forgotten me and have offered sacrifices to foreign gods. Let me turn the brightness up. Excuse me. I surely was the one who brought them out of the land of Ptah, or Ta, out of bondage. Yet they have angered me and despised my counsels. Pull out the hair of your head and hurl all evils on them, for they have not obeyed my law. They are rebellious. And if you're wondering why I call Egypt Ptah or Ta, if you know the etymology of Egypt, it is named after, or the etymology of Egypt is rooted in the name for the ancient Egyptian god Ptah, which was the main, what's the word, demiurge of Egypt, in the capital of Egypt, which was Memphis at the time. And as you all know, I live in Memphis, Tennessee. So I was very invested in the etymology of Memphis and the etymology of Egypt, seeing as how Memphis, Tennessee is named after Memphis, Egypt. So Egypt is actually named from Egyptos, and Egyptos came from Hewitt Ka Ptah, which means enclosure of the soul of Ptah or Ta. Or the instead of enclosure, you could say the place of residement or the home of the soul of Ta. So this is where Egypt comes from. And I know it's kind of hard to understand, but if you read on the etymology of Egypt, you would understand it better. But this is why I call it the land of Ptah or Ta. Pull out the hair of your head and hurl all evils on them, for they have not obeyed my law. They are rebellious. How long will I endure them? I have granted them great benefits. I have overthrown many kings for their sake. I struck down Pharaoh, his servants, and his entire army. I have destroyed all nations before them and scattered the people of 2 provinces, Tyre and Sidon in the east. I have slain all their enemies. Speak to them and say, thus says the truth. I was surely the one who brought you through the sea and made safe paths for you where there was no road. I gave you Moshe as leader and Aaron as priest. I provided light for you from a pillar of fire, and did great wonders amongst you. Yet you have forgotten me, says the truth. Thus says the truth Almighty. The quails were a sign for you. I gave you camps to protect you, but you complained while in them. You have not praised me for destroying your enemies, but you still complain today. Where are the benefits which I granted you? When you were hungry and thirsty in the desert, you cried out to me. Why have you led us into this desert to kill us? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in this desert. I pitied your crying and gave you manna for food. You ate the food of angels. When you were thirsty, I split the rocks so that plentiful waters flowed. I covered you with the leaves of trees to shelter you from the heat. I divided fertile lands for you. I drove the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Philistines before you. What more can I do for you, says the truth. Thus says the truth Almighty. When you were in the desert, at the bitter stream, thirsty and blaspheming me, I did not send fire on you for your blasphemies, but threw a tree into the water and made the water sweet. What will I do to you, Jacob? You would not obey me, Judah. I will turn to other nations and will give them my name, and they may keep my statutes. That they may keep my statutes. Excuse me. So, I'm going to stop right here at verse 24 right now. But as we can see, we're going to talk about it for a minute. As we can see, this is basically rehashing the books of Moses, especially Exodus and Deuteronomy, talking about how the Most High saved the Israelites from their captivity in Egypt, or the land of Ta, right? Talking about how he gave Moses for a leader when they were wandering through the desert, gave Aaron for a priest. And then it moves on to how they were blaspheming the Most High and complaining and talking about how it was better it would have been better if they stayed in Egypt, right? So then it started getting into the curses. Well, now it's starting to get into the curses that are in the book of Deuteronomy, which we know one of the curses was that they would be in captivity for 400 years. They and their posterity or their descendants would be in captivity for 400 years. So this is what it's now getting into. So starting at verse 25. Because you have deserted me, I also will desert you. When you beg for mercy, I will show you no mercy. When you call on me, I will not listen to you. For you have defiled your hands with blood, and your feet are swift to commit murder. It is not as though you had deserted me, for you have deserted yourselves, says the truth. Thus says the truth Almighty. Have I not entreated you as a father entreats his son, or a mother her daughter, or a nurse her children, that you should be my people, and I should be your God, and that you would be my sons, and I should be your father? I gathered you as a hen gathers her brood under her wings. But now, what will I do to you? I will cast you out of my presence. When you make offerings to me, I will turn away from you. I have rejected your feast days and new moons and bodily circumcisions. I sent to you my servants, the prophets, but you have taken them and killed them, and torn their bodies in pieces. I will require their blood of you, says the truth. Thus says the truth Almighty. Your house is deserted. I will drive you out like the wind drives out straw. Your sons will have no children, because like you, they have neglected my commandments and have done what is evil in my sight. I will give your houses to a people that will come, who will believe without having heard me. Those I have shown no signs will do what I have commanded. They have seen no prophets, yet will recall their former state. I call to witness the gratitude of the people that is to come, whose children celebrate happily although they do not see me with bodily eyes. Yet by means of the Spirit, they will believe the things I have said. So basically, it's about a transference or transition of power. This is how we became low. This is how we became the tail and the other nations became the head. And this is also how the Holy Spirit was bestowed upon those within those other nations that believed in the Most High God of Israel. So we no longer had the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit transitioned to the other nations to teach the other nations, because there were those in the other nations that believed in the Most High or believed in the words of the Most High. Verse 38, but now, Father, look with pride and see the people coming from the east. To them I will give as leaders Abraham, Yishik, Jacob, Hosea, Amos, Micah, Yoel, Obadiah, Jonah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, who is also called the messenger of the truth. 4th Ezra chapter 2, verse 1. Thus says the truth. I brought these people out of bondage, and I gave them commandments through my servants, the prophets. But they would not listen to them, and made my counsels null and void. The mother who bore them says to them, go, my children, because I am a deserted widow. I reared you with gladness, but I have lost you with mourning and sorrow. Because you have sinned before the true God, and have done what is evil in my sight. But now what can I do for you? I'm sorry, I'm reading too fast. But now what can I do for you? I am a deserted widow. My children, go and ask for mercy from the truth. I call on you, Father, as a witness in addition to the mother of the children, because they would not keep my covenant, so that you will bring confusion on them and bring their mother to ruin, so that they may have no offspring. Let them be scattered among the nations. Let their names be blotted out from the earth, because they have despised my covenant. Woe to you, Assyria, who concealed the unrighteous in your midst. You wicked nation, remember what I did to Sodom and Gomorrah, whose land lies in lumps of pitch and ash piles. This is what I will do to those who have not listened to me, says the truth Almighty. Thus says the truth to Ezra. Tell my people that I will give them the kingdom of Jerusalem, which I was going to give to Israel. to Israel. Also, I will take their glory back, and will give the everlasting habitations which I had prepared for Israel to others. The tree of life will give them fragrant perfume, and they will not work or become weary. Ask, and you will receive. Pray that your days may be few, that they may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you. Watch. Sorry, I had to fill my cup up real quick. All right, now that I'm properly hydrated. Starting at verse 14. Call heaven and earth to witness that I left out evil and created good, because I live, says the truth. Mother, embrace your sons. Bring them up with gladness, as does the dove. Establish them, because I have chosen you, says the truth. I will raise the dead from their places, and I will bring them out of their tombs, because I recognize my name in them. Do not fear, mother of sons, for I have chosen you, says the truth. I will send you help, my servants, Yeshaiah and Jeremiah. According to their counsel, I have consecrated and prepared for you 12 trees loaded with various kinds of fruit, and the same number of springs flowing with milk and honey, and 7 mighty mountains on which roses and lilies grow. I will fill your children with joy with these. Protect the rights of the widow. Secure justice for the fatherless. Give to the needy. Defend the orphan. Clothe the naked. Care for the injured and the weak. Do not ridicule a lame man. Protect the injured, and let the blind man have a vision of splendor. Let's see how many commands there was. How many commandments? Protect the rights of the widow. There's 1. Secure justice for the fatherless. There's 2. Give to the needy. Defend the orphan. Clothe the naked. Care for the injured and the weak. Do not ridicule a lame man. Protect the injured, and let the blind man have a vision of my splendor. That's 9 from what I could tell. 10. Protect the old and the young within your walls. When you find any dead, bury them and mark the grave, and I will give you the first place in my resurrection. Stay and be quiet, my people, because your rest will come. Good nurse, nourish your sons and strengthen them. Not one of the servants whom I have given you will perish, for I will require them from amongst you. Do not be anxious, for when the time of tribulation and anguish comes, others will weep and be sorrowful, but you will celebrate and have abundance. The nations will envy you, but they will not be able to do anything against you, says the truth. Verse 29. My hands will cover you so that your sons may not see Gehenna. Mother, rejoice with your sons, because I will save you, says the truth. Remember your sons that sleep, because I will bring them out of the hiding places of the earth, and will show them mercy. I am merciful, says the truth Almighty. Embrace your children until I come. Proclaim mercy to them, because my springs run over, and my grace will not fail. I, Ezra, received a command from the truth on Mount Oreb to go to Israel. When I went to them, they rejected me and refused the commandment of the truth. So then I say to you, you nations that hear and understand, await your shepherd, for he will give you eternal rest. He who will come at the end of the age is close at hand. Be ready for the rewards of the kingdom, because the eternal light will shine on you forevermore. Flee from the shadow of this age and receive the joy of your glory. I publicly call on my Savior to witness. Receive what the truth has entrusted to you and be happy. Thanks him who has called you to heavenly kingdoms. Rise and stand and see at the feast of the truth the number of those who have been sealed. That's talking about Revelation chapter 7, I want to say. Revelation chapter 7. And this is the sixth seal. Yeah, this is after the sixth seal, I want to say. Let's go look it up real quick. Yep. This is after the sixth seal. So this is the 144,000 being sealed. Revelation chapter 7. I lost my place. Hold on. Okay. I was at verse 38. Rise and stand and see at the feast of the truth the number of those who have been sealed, which is Revelation chapter 7, the 144,000 being sealed. Those who have left the shadow of this age have received glorious garments from the truth. Zion, take your full number and conclude the list of your people who are clothed in white, who have fulfilled the law of the truth. The number of your children you desired is full. Ask of the truth's power, that your people, who have been called from the beginning, may be made holy. I, Ezra, saw a large crowd on Mount Zion, which I could not count, and they all were praising the truth with songs. Amongst them was a young man of great height, taller than any of the others. He placed a crown on the head of each of them, but he was more exalted than they. I was spellbound. I asked an angel, "Who are these, my Lord?" He asked me. He answered me. These are they who have put off mortal clothing and have put on the immortal, and they have confessed the name of the Most High. They are being crowned and will receive palms. I asked the angel, "Who is that young man who places crowns on them and puts palms in their hands?" He answered me, "He is the Son of the Most High, whom they confessed in the world." I began to praise those who had stood bravely for the name of the Lord, or the name of the truth. Or to shorten it, I began to praise those who had stood bravely for the truth. Then the angel said to me, "Go and tell my people how great and many are the wonders of the true God, which you have seen." Fourth Ezra, or Second Ezra, chapter 3. Verse 1. In the 30th year after the destruction of our city, I, Salathiel, who is also called Ezra, was in Babylon. I was troubled as I lay on my bed, and my thoughts welled up in my heart, because I saw the desolation of Zion and the wealth of those who lived in Babylon. I was very distressed. And I began to speak anxiously to the Most High. I said, Sovereign truth, didn't not speak at the beginning when you formed the earth, and that without help, and commanded the dust. And it gave you Adam, a lifeless body? Yet he was your workmanship, and you breathed the breath of life into him, and he was made alive in your presence. You led him into the garden which your right hand had planted before the earth appeared. You laid on him one commandment, but he sinned. Then immediately you appointed death for him and his descendants. From him sprang nations and tribes, peoples and clans without number. Every nation did what it wanted and did ungodly things before you and scorned you, and you did not prevent them. You brought the flood on the inhabitants of the world and destroyed them. The same fate befell them. As death came on Adam, so the flood came upon them. But you left one of them, Noah, with his household, and all the righteous who have descended from him. When those who lived on earth began to multiply, they produced children, peoples, and many nations. And again they began to be more ungodly than their ancestors. When they were committing sin, you chose one of them, whose name was Abraham, and you loved him, and only to him revealed the end of the times, in secret and by night. You made an everlasting covenant with him, and promised him that you would never abandon his descendants. And you gave him Yishak, and you gave him Jacob and Esau to Yishak, and you gave Jacob and Esau to Yishak. You set apart Jacob for yourself, but you rejected Esau, and Jacob became a great multitude. When you led his descendants, out of Patah, you brought them to Mount Sinai. You bent down the heavens and shook the earth, moved the world, made the depths tremble, and troubled the times. Your glory passed through the four gates of fire, earthquake, wind, and ice, to give the law to the descendants of Jacob, and your commandment to the posterity, or the descendants of Israel. Yet you did not take their evil heart away from them, so that your law would produce fruit in them. For the first Adam, burdened with an evil heart, sinned and was overcome, as were also all who were descended from him. And so the disease became permanent. The law was in the people's hearts along with the evil root, but that which was good left, and the evil stayed. The times and the years were passes, and you raised up for yourself a servant by the name of David. You commanded him to build a city for your name, and to offer oblations in it. This was done for many years, but the inhabitants of the city sinned in everything, doing as Adam and all his descendants had done, for they also had an evil heart. So then you delivered the city into the hands of your enemies. Then I said in my heart, are the deeds of those who inhabit Babylon any better? Is that why she has gained control over Zion? When I came here, I saw countless ungodly deeds, and I have seen many sinners during these 30 years. My heart failed me, for I have seen how you endure those who sin, and have spared those who act wickedly, and have destroyed your people, and have saved your enemies, and have not shown anyone how your way may be understood. Are the deeds of Babylon better than those of Zion? Or has another nation known you beside Israel? Have any other tribes have believed your covenants as these tribes of Jacob have? Yet their reward has not appeared, and their labor has borne no fruit. I have traveled widely among the nations, and have seen that they have abundantly wealth, though they do not keep your commandments. So then, weigh in a balance our wrongdoings and those of the inhabitants of the world, and so it will be found which way the scale will incline. When have the inhabitants of the earth not sinned in your sight? What nation has kept your commandments so well? Indeed, you may find individual men who have kept your commandments, but you will not find nations that have. 4th Ezra, chapter 4, or 2nd Ezra, chapter 4. All right, so now we getting into the part that I was talking about earlier where there are pretty valid questions being posed to the Most High. And like I said in my last video, it's kind of frowned upon. Well, it used to be frowned upon when I was growing up for you to question the Most High or question the commandments or to question the motives of the Most High. It was frowned upon and considered disrespectful. But like I said, in the book of 2nd Ezra or 4th Ezra, there are pretty valid questions being asked or being posed. So now we're getting to the point where those questions are going to be answered. And like I said, the answers are very informative, but they also make you think. And if you have a certain level of consciousness or intelligence, you're able to get a better understanding and knowledge and wisdom from the answers to those questions. So, chapter 4, starting at verse 1. Then the angel that had been sent to me, whose name was Uriel, answered me, Your understanding regarding this world has utterly failed. Do you think you can understand the way of the Most High? Then I answered, Yes, my Lord. He replied to me, I have been sent to show you 3 ways, and to set before you 3 problems. If you can solve one of them for me, I will reveal to you what you want to know, and will teach you why the heart is evil. I said, Speak, my Lord. He said to me, Weigh for me the weight of fire, or measure for me a measure of wind, or call back for me the day that is past. I answered, Who of anyone who have been born is able to do this? How can you ask me such things? He said to me, If I had asked you, how many souls are in the heart of the sea? How many streams are at the source of the deep? How many streams are above the firmament, which are the exits of hell, or which are the entrances of paradise? Then perhaps you would have said to me, I never went down into the deep, and I haven't yet been to hell, and I haven't yet ascended to heaven. But now I have asked you only about fire and wind and the day, things through which you have passed and without which you cannot exist. And you have given me no answer about them. He said to me, You cannot understand the things with which you have grown up. So then, how can your mind understand the way of the Most High? How can one who is already worn out by the perishing world understand the imperishable? When I heard this, I fell on my face and said to him, It would be better for us not to be here than to come here and live in ungodliness and to suffer and not understand why. He answered me, I went into a forest of trees of the plain, and they made a plan and said, Let us go and make war against the sea, to make it recede before us, so that we can make more forests for ourselves. In the same way, the waves of the sea also made a plan, and said, let us go and subdue the forest of the plain, in order to gain more territory for ourselves. But the plan of the forest was in vain, for the fire came and consumed it. Likewise, the plan of the waves of the sea was in vain, for the sand stood firm and stopped them. If now you were a judge between them, which would you undertake to justify and which to condemn? I answered, each has made a foolish plan, for the land is assigned to the forest, and the sea is assigned a place to carry its waves. He answered me, you have judged rightly, but why have you not judged so in your own case? For as the land is assigned to the forest, and the sea is to its waves, so also those who live on the earth can understand only what is on the earth, and he who is above the heavens can understand what is above the height of the heavens. Then I answered, I beg you, my Lord, why have I been endowed with the power of understanding? For I did not wish to inquire about the ways above, but about those things which we daily experience, such as why Israel has been given over to the pagans as a reproach, why the people you loved have been given over to godless tribes, and why the law of our fathers has been made of no effect, and the written covenants no longer exist. And why we pass from the world like locusts, and our life is like a mist, and we are not worthy to obtain mercy. But what will he do for his name, by which we are called? It is about these things that I have asked. He said, if you are alive, you will see, and if you live long, you will often marvel, because the age is hurrying swiftly to its end. For it will not be able to bring the things that have been promised to the righteous in their appointed times, because this age is full of sadness and sickness. The evil about which you ask me has already been sown, but the harvest has not yet come. If that which has been sown is not harvested, and if the place where the evil has been sown does not pass away, then the field where the good has been sown will not come. A grain of evil descendants was sown in Adam's heart from the beginning. And how much ungodliness excuse me. A grain of evil descendants was sown in Adam's heart from the beginning. And how much ungodliness it has produced until now, and will produce until the time of threshing comes. Consider how much fruit of ungodliness a grain of evil descendants has produced. When heads of grain without number are sown, how great a threshing floor they will fill. Then I answered, how long before this will happen? Why are our years few and evil? He answered, you do not hurry faster than the Most High, for your haste is for yourself, but the highest hurries on behalf of many. Did not the righteous in their chambers ask about these matters and say, how long are we to remain here? When will the harvest of our reward come? Jeremiel, the archangel, answered them, when the number of those like yourself is completed, for he has weighed the age in the balance, and measured the times by measure, and numbered the times by number, and he will not move or awaken them until the measure is fulfilled. So verses 35 through 37 is talking about I want to say the seventh seal. Let's read Revelation chapter 8. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was a silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. Let's see. Uh, it might have been before the seventh seal. Okay, yeah. So it's Revelation chapter 6, verse 10. All right, so it's the fifth seal. And when he had opened the fifth seal, starting at verse 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. So that's the fifth seal. So 4th Ezra chapter 4 verses 35 through 37 is talking about the fifth seal. Starting at verse 35 again. Did not the righteous in their chambers ask about these matters and say, How long are we to remain here? When will the harvest of our reward come? Yeremiel, the archangel, answered them, When the number of those like yourselves is completed, for he has weighed the age in the balance, and measured the times by measure, and numbered the times by number, and he will not move or awaken them until that measure is fulfilled. Then I answered, Sovereign truth, all of us also are full of ungodliness. It is perhaps because of us that the time of threshing is delayed, for the righteous For excuse me. It is perhaps because of us that the time of threshing is delayed for the righteous, because of the sins of those who live on earth. He said, "Go and ask a woman who is with child if, when her 9 months has come to pass, her womb can keep the child within her any longer." I said, "No, Lord, it cannot." He said to me, "In Hades, the chambers of the lives are the chambers of the lives are like the womb. For just as a woman who is in labor makes haste to escape the pangs of birth, so also do these places hurry to give back those things that were committed to them from the beginning. Then the things that you desire to see will be disclosed to you." I answered, "If I have found favor in your sight, and if it is possible, and if I am worthy, show me this too, whether more time is to come than has passed, or whether for us the greater part of time has gone by. For I know what has gone by, but I do not know what is to come." He said to me, "Stand at my right side, and I will show you the interpretation of a parable." I stood and looked, and a flaming furnace passed by me. And after the flame had passed, by, I saw that the smoke stayed. After this, a cloud full of water passed before me, and poured down a heavy, violent rain. And when the rainstorm had passed, drops stayed in the cloud. He said to me, "Consider this: as the rain is more than the drops, and the fire is greater than the smoke, so the quantity that passed was far greater, but drops and smoke stayed." Then I prayed and said, "Do you think that I will live until those days? Or who will be alive in those times?" He answered me, "About the signs about which you ask me, I can tell you in part, but I was not sent to tell you about your life, for I do not know. Now about the signs. The days are coming when those who live on earth will be seized with great terror, and the way of truth will be hidden, and the land will be barren of faith. Unrighteousness will be increased beyond what you yourself see, and beyond that which you formerly heard. The land which you now see ruling will be waste and untrodden, and men will see it desolate. But if the Most High grants that you live, you will see it thrown into confusion after the third period. The sun will suddenly shine at night, and the moon during the day. Blood will drip from wood, and stone will speak. People will be troubled, and the stars will fall. One will reign whom those who live on earth do not expect, and the birds will fly away together. The sea of Sodom will cast up fish. One whom the many do not know will make his voice heard by night, and all will hear his voice. There will be chaos in many places. Fire will often break out. The wild animals will roam beyond their haunts, and menstruating women will give birth to monsters. Salt waters will be found in the sweet, and all friends will conquer one another. Then reason will hide itself, and wisdom will withdraw into its chamber. It will be sought by many, but will not be found, and unrighteousness and lack of restraint will increase on earth. One country will ask its neighbor, "Has righteousness or anyone who does right passed through you?" It will answer no. At that time, men will hope, but not obtain. They will work, but not prosper. These are the signs which I am permitted to tell you. And if you pray again, and weep as you do now, and fast for 7 days, you will hear even greater things than these. Then I awoke, and my body shuddered violently, and my soul was so troubled that I fainted. But the angel who had come and talked with me held me, strengthened me, and set me on my feet. Now on the second night, Phaltiel, a chief of the people, came to me and said, "Where have you been? Why are you sad? Don't you know that Israel has been entrusted to you in the land of their exile? Rise and eat some bread, so that you may not abandon us, like a shepherd who leaves his flock to the power of cruel wolves." Then I said to him, "Leave me, and do not come near me for 7 days, and then you may come to me." He did as I said and left me. I fasted for 7 days, mourning and crying, as Uriel the angel had commanded me. After 7 days, my thoughts of my heart were again very grievous. Then I recovered the spirit of understanding, and I began to speak words in the presence of the Most High again. I said, "Sovereign truth, from every forest of the earth and from all its trees, you have chosen one vine. From all the lands of the world, you have chosen one region. And all the flowers of the world, you have chosen one lily. From all the depths of the sea, you have filled one river. And from all the cities that have been built, you have consecrated Zion. From all the birds that have been created, you have named one dove. And from all the flocks that have been made, you have provided one sheep. And from all the multitude of peoples, you have gotten one people. And to this people, whom you have loved, you have given the law, which is approved by all. But now, truth, why have you given over the one to the many, and dishonored the one root beyond the others, and scattered your only one among the many? Those who opposed your promises have trodden down those who believed your covenants. If you do really hate your people, they should be punished at your own hands." When I had said this, the angel who had come to me on a previous night was sent to me. He said to me, "Listen to me, and I will instruct you. Pay attention to me, and I will tell you more." I said, "Speak, my Lord." He said, "Are you greatly disturbed over Israel? Or do you love it more than his maker does?" I said, "No, my Lord. I have spoken out of grief. For every hour I suffer agonies of heart, striving to understand the way of the Most High and to search out part of his judgment." He said, "You cannot." I said, "Why not, my Lord?" "Why then was I born? Why didn't my mother's womb become my grave, to prevent me seeing the travail of Jacob and the exhaustion of the people of Israel?" He said to me, "Count those who have not yet come. Gather the scattered raindrops. Make the withered flowers bloom again. Open the closed chambers, and bring forth the winds shut up in them. Or show me the picture of a voice, and then I will explain to you the travail that you ask to understand." I said, "Sovereign truth, who is able to know these things except he who does not live with men? As for me, I am without wisdom. So how can I speak about the things you have asked me?" My throat is terribly dry. I'm not gonna lie. I woke up feeling not feeling kind of sick, but my throat was kind of scratchy when I woke up. So this is weird weather, bro, for real, because you can definitely tell it's springtime, but it's still cold. Like, it's still getting down to the 30s and 40s. So you don't know whether to sleep with the fan on, the heater on, whether to bundle up or wear a t-shirt and shorts outside. It's terrible. Also, the fact that I smoke cigarettes probably doesn't help that much either. So, shame on me. All right, so to continue, starting at verse 40, he answered, "Just as you cannot do one of the things that were mentioned, so you cannot discover my judgment or the goal of the love that I have promised my people." I said, however, truth, you do have charge of those who are alive at the end. But what will those who were before us do, or we, or those who come after us? He said to me, I will compare my judgment to a circle. Just as for those who are last, there is no slowness. So for those who are first, there is no hurry. Then I said, couldn't you have created at one time those who have been and those who are those who have been and those who are and those who will be, so that you could show your judgment sooner? He answered, the creation cannot hurry more than the Creator, nor can the world hold at one time all those who have been created. So this is basically telling you there are people that are created, or there is more creation, but there can only be so much at one time. All of creation can't exist at the same time, which we know time is basically an illusion, or sort of an illusion, but the way we see it on this lower level, or this lower plane under the heavens, time does exist in a way. So all of creation cannot exist at one time. Everything has its appointed, or every creation has its appointed time, is what it's saying. I said, how have you said to your servant that you will certainly give life at one time to your creation? If all creatures will live at one time, and the creation will sustain them, it might even now be able to support all of them at the one time. He said to me, ask a woman's womb, if you bear 10 children, why one after another? Request it to produce 10 at one time. I said, of course it can't. It can only produce one at a time. He said to me, even so have I given the womb of the earth to those who from time to time are sown in it. For as an infant does not give birth, and a woman who has become old does not give birth any longer, so have I organized the world I created. Then I said, since you have now given me the opportunity, let me speak before you. Is our mother, of whom you have told me, still young, or is she now getting old? He said, ask a woman who bears children, and she will tell you. Ask her, why are those you have born recently not like those you bore before, but smaller? She herself will answer you. Those born in youth are different from those born during old age, when the womb is failing. So you also should consider that you and your contemporaries are smaller in stature than those who were before you, and those who come after you will be smaller than you, being born of a creation which already is aging and passing the strength of youth. I said, Lord, I beg you, if I have found favor in your sight, show your servant your creation. Chapter 6. He said to me, at the beginning of the circle of the earth, before the portals of the world were in place, before the assembled winds blew, before the rumblings of thunder sounded, before the lightning flashed, and before the foundations of paradise were laid, before the beautiful flowers were seen, before the powers of movement were established, before the countless armies of angels were gathered, before the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmaments were named, before the footstool of Zion was established, before the present years were calculated, before those who now sin were estranged, and before those who stored up treasures of faith were sealed. Then I planned these things, and they were made through me and not through another, just as the end will come through me and not through another. I answered, what will be the dividing of the times? When will be the end of the first age and the beginning of the age that follows? He said to me, from Abraham to Yishak, because Jacob and Esau were born from him. For Jacob's hand held Esau's heel from the beginning. Esau is the end of this age, and Jacob is the beginning of the age that follows. The beginning of a man is his hand, and the end of a man is his heel. Seek nothing else between the heel and the hand, Ezra. I answered, sovereign truth, if I have found favor in your sight, show your servant the end of your signs, which you showed me in part on a previous night. He answered, rise to your feet, and you will hear a loud resounding voice. If the place where you are standing is greatly shaken, while the voice is speaking, do not be afraid, because the word concerns the end, and the foundations of the earth will understand that the speech concerns them. They will tremble and shake, for they know that their end must be changed. When I heard this, I got to my feet and listened, and behold, a voice was speaking, and it sounded like many waters. It said, behold, the days are coming, and when I draw near to visit the inhabitants of the earth, when I require the penalty from the wrongdoers, and when the humiliation of Zion is complete, and when the seal is placed on the age which is about to pass away, then I will show these signs. The books will be opened before the firmament, and all will see it together. Infants a year old will speak with their voices, and pregnant women will give birth to premature children at 3 and 4 months, and these will live and dance. Sown places will suddenly appear unsown, and full storehouses will suddenly be found empty. The trumpet will sound, and when all hear it, they will suddenly be terrified. At that time, friends will make war on friends like enemies, and the earth and those who inhabit it will be terrified. The waters of fountains will cease and not flow for 3 hours. Whoever remains after all that I have foretold to you will be saved and will see my salvation and the end of my world. They will see the men who were taken up, who from their birth have not died. And the heart of the earth's inhabitants will be converted to a different spirit. Evil will be blotted out, and deceit will be quenched. Faithfulness will flourish, and perishability will be overcome. The truth, which has been without fruitless so long, will be revealed. While he spoke to me, little by little, the place where I was standing began to rock. He said to me, I have come to show you these things this night. If you will pray again and fast again for 7 days, I will declare to you greater things than these. Because your voice has surely been heard by the Most High. The Mighty One has seen your uprightness and has also observed the purity you have maintained from your youth. He sent me to show you all these things and to say to you, believe and do not be afraid. Do not be quick to think vain thoughts about the former times, lest you be in haste about the last times. After this I wept again and fasted 7 days as before, in order to complete the 3 weeks as I had been instructed. On the 8th night, my heart was troubled again, and I spoke to the Most High. For my spirit was greatly stirred, and my life was in distress. I said, Truth, you spoke at the beginning of creation, and said on the first day, Let heaven and earth be made, and your word accomplished the work. Then the spirit was hovering, and darkness and silence embraced everything. The sound of man's voice was not yet there. Then you commanded that a ray of light be brought out of your treasuries, so that your works might then appear. Again, on the second day, you created the spirit of the firmament, and commanded him to divide and separate the waters, so that one part could move upwards, and the other part remain beneath. On the third day, you commanded the waters to be gathered in the seventh part of the earth. You dried up 6 parts, and so that some of them would be planted and cultivated and be of service to you. Your word left, and the work was done at once. Immediately, fruit was produced in endless abundance and of varied appeal to the taste. Flowers of inimitable color and scents of inexpressible fragrance. These were made on the third day. On the fourth day, you commanded the brightness of the sun, the light of the moon, and the arrangement of the stars to come into being, and you commanded them to serve man, who was about to be formed. On the fifth day, you commanded the seventh part, where the water gathered, to bring out living creatures, birds, and fishes, and so it was done. The silent, lifeless water produced living creatures, as it was commanded, so that the nations might declare your wondrous works. Then you did keep in existence 2 living creatures. You called one Behemoth, and the other Leviathan. You separated one from the other, for the seventh part, where the water had been gathered, could not hold them both. You gave Behemoth one of the parts which had been dried up on the third day, to live in, where there are 1,000 mountains. But you gave Leviathan the seventh part, the watery part, and you have kept them to be eaten by whom you will, and when you will. On the 6th day, you commanded the earth to bring forth before you cattle, beasts, and creeping things, and you placed Adam over them as ruler over all the works which you had made, and from him we have all come, the people whom you have chosen. All this I have said to you, truth, because you created this world for us. As for the other nations which have descended from Adam, you have said that they are nothing like spittle, and you have compared their abundance to a drop from a bucket. Yet now, Lord, truth, these nations, which are reputed to be nothing, dominate us and consume us. But we, your people, whom you have called your firstborn, only fathered 10, fervent for you and most dear, have been given into their hands. If the world has been created for us, why do we not possess our world as an inheritance? How long will this be the case? Chapter 7. When I had finished speaking, the angel who had been sent to me previous nights was sent to me again. And he said to me, Rise, Ezra, and listen to what I have come to say to you. I said, Speak, my Lord. He said, There is a sea set in a wide expanse, so that it is broad and vast, but it has an entrance set in a narrow place, so that it is like a river. If anyone wishes to reach the sea, to look at it, or to navigate it, how can he come to the broad part unless he passes through the narrow part? Here is another example. There is a city built on a plain, and it is full of all good things, but its entrance is narrow and set in a precipitous place. There is fire on the right and deep water on the left. And there is only one path lying between them, that is, between the fire and the water, so that only one man can walk on that path. If that city is given to a man as an inheritance, how will the heir receive his inheritance unless he passes through the danger set in front of him? I said, he cannot, Lord. He said to me, so also is the case with Israel's portion. I made the world for their sake, and when Adam sinned against my statutes, what had been made was judged. The entrances of this world were made narrow, sorrowful, and laborious. They are few and bad, full of dangers and great hardships. But the entrances of the greater world are broad and safe, and yield the fruit of immortality. So then, unless the living pass through the difficult and unsuccessful experiences, they can never receive those things that have been reserved for them. Now, why are you disturbed, given that you are to perish? Why are you moved, given that you are mortal? Why have you not considered what is to come, rather than... I'm sorry. Why are you moved, given that you are mortal? Why have you not considered what is to come, rather than what is now present? Then I answered, Sovereign truth, you have ordained in your law that the righteous will inherit these things, but that the ungodly will perish. So then, the righteous can endure difficult circumstances while hoping for easier ones. But those who have acted wickedly have suffered the difficult circumstances and will not see the easier ones. He said to me, you are not a better judge than the Most High, or wiser than the Most High. Let many perish who are now living, rather than the law of the Most High, which is set before them, be disregarded. The Most High strictly commanded those who came into the world what they should do to live, and what they should do to avoid punishment. Yet they were not obedient, and spoke against him. They devised unproductive thoughts, and proposed wicked frauds. They declared that the Most High does not exist. They ignored his ways. They scorned his law and denied his covenants. They have been unfaithful to his statutes and have not performed his commands. So then, Ezra, empty things are for the empty, and full things are for the full. The time will come when the signs which I have foretold to you will come to pass. The city which now is not seen will appear, and the land which now is hidden will be revealed. Everyone who has been delivered from the evils that I have foretold will see my wonders. My son, the Mashiach, will be revealed with those who are with him, and those who remain will celebrate for 400 years. After this, my son, the Mashiach, will die, as will all who draw breath. The world will be turned back to prime evil silence for 7 days, as it was at the first beginnings, and no one will be left. After 7 days, the world which is not yet awake will be awoken, and that which is imperishable will perish. The earth will give up those who are asleep in it, and the dust will give up those who live silently in it, and the chambers will give up the lives which have been committed to them. The Most High will be revealed on the seat of judgment. Compassion will pass away, and patience will be withdrawn. Only judgment will remain. Truth will stand, and faithfulness will grow strong. Recompense will follow, and the reward will be shown. Righteous deeds will awake, and unrighteous deeds will not sleep. Then the pit of torment will appear, and opposite it will be the place of rest. The furnace will be disclosed, and opposite it will be the paradise of delight. Then the Most High will say to the nations that have been raised from the dead, look now, and understand whom you have denied, whom you have not served, and whose commandments you have despised. Look on the side of look on this side and that. Here are delight and rest, and there are fire and torments. This is what he will say to them on the day of judgment. A day that has no sun, moon, stars, cloud, thunder, lightning, wind, water, air, darkness, evening, morning, summer, spring, heat, winter, frost, cold, hail, rain, dew, noon, night, dawn, shining, brightness, or light. But only the splendor of the glory of the Most High, by which all will see what has been determined for them. It will last about a week of years. I want to say that's like 70 years. If it's 7 days in a week, I want to say that's about 70 years. This is my judgment and its prescribed order, and I have shown these things to you alone. I answered, sovereign truth. I said then, and I say now, blessed are those who are alive and keep your commandments. But what about those for whom I prayed? Who is there among the living who has not sinned, or who among men that has not sinned against your covenant? I see that the world to come will bring delight to few, but torments to many. An evil heart has grown up in us, which has alienated us from the Most High, and has brought us to decay and the ways of death, and has shown us the paths of perdition, and removed us far from life. And not just a few of us, but almost all of us have been created, all who have been created. He answered me, listen to me, Ezra, and I will instruct you and will reprove you yet again. This is why the Most High has made not one world, but two. You have said that the righteous are not many, but few, while the ungodly abound, and this is the explanation. If you have just a few precious stones, will you add lead and clay to them? I said, truth, of course not. He said to me, not only that, but ask the earth, and she will tell you. Defer to her, and she will declare it to you. Say to her, you produce gold, silver, and brass, and also iron, lead, and clay. But silver is more abundant than gold, brass than silver, iron than brass, lead than iron, and clay than lead. So then judge which things are precious and desirable, those that are abundant or those that are rare. I said, sovereign truth, what is plentiful is of less value, and what is rare is more precious. He answered me, weigh up what you have thought, for he who has what is hard is happier than he who has what is plentiful. So also will be the judgment which I have promised. I will celebrate over the few who will be saved, because it is they who have made my glory prevail, and through them my name has been honored. I will not grieve over the multitude of those who perish, for they who like a mist are and are similar to a flame and smoke. They are set on fire and burn hotly, and are extinguished. I said, earth, what have you brought forth? If the mind is made out of the dust like the other created things. For it would have been better if the dust itself had not been born, so that the mind might not have been made from it. But now the mind grows with us, and so we are tormented, because we perish and we know it. Let the human race lament, but let the animals of the field be glad. Let all who have been born lament, but let the four-footed beast and the flocks celebrate. It is far better for them than for us, and they do not look for a judgment, nor do they know of any torment or salvation promised to them after death. What good does it do us to be preserved alive but cruelly tormented. For all who have been born do wrong and are full of sins. If we were not to come into judgment after death, perhaps it would have been better for us. He answered, when the Most High made the world, and Adam, and all who have come from him, he first prepared the judgment and the things that relate to the judgment. But now understand from your own words, for you have said that the mind grows with us. For this reason, those who live on earth will be tormented, because although they had understanding, they committed iniquity. And although they received the commandments, they did not keep them. And although they obtained the law, they dealt unlawfully with what they received. What then will they have to say in the judgment? How will they answer in the last times? The Most High has been patient with those who inhabit the world for a long time, and not for their sake, but because of the times which he has foreordained. I answered, if I have found favor in your sight, truth, show this also to your servant, whether after death, as soon as every one of us dies, we will be kept in rest until those times come when you will renew the creation, or whether we will be tormented at once. He answered me, I will show you that too, but do not be associated with those who are scornful, or number yourself among those who are tormented. For you have a treasure of works laid up with the Most High, but it will not be shown to you until the last times. Now, about death. The teaching is that when the decree has gone from the Most High, that a man will die. As the spirit leaves the body to return again to him who gave it, first of all, it adores the glory of the Most High. If it is one of those who have been scornful and have not kept the way of the Most High, and who have despised his law, and who have hated those who fear the Most High, then such spirits will not enter into habitations, but will immediately wander about in torment, always grieving and sad in 7 ways. The first way, because they have scorned the law of the Most High. The second way, because they cannot make a good repentance in order to live. The third way, because they will see the reward laid up for those who have trusted the covenants of the Most High. The fourth way, because they will consider the torment waiting for them in the last days. The fifth way, because they will see how the habitations of the others are guarded by angels in deep quiet. The sixth way, because they will see how some of them will pass into torment. The seventh way, which is worse than all the ways that have been mentioned, because they will utterly waste away in confusion and be consumed with shame, and will wither with fear at seeing the glory of the Most High, before whom they sinned while they were alive, and before whom they are to be judged in the last times. Now this is the order of those who have kept the ways of the Most High, when they will be separated from their mortal body. During the time that they lived in it, they laboriously served the Most High and withstood danger all the time, in order to keep the law of the lawgiver completely. This is the teaching about them. First of all, they will joyfully see the glory of him who receives them, for they will have rest in 7 orders. The first order, because they have striven with great effort to overcome the evil thought which was formed in them, that it might not lead them astray from life into death. The second order, because they see the bewilderment in which the ungodly wander, and the punishment waiting for them. The third order, because they see the witness which he who formed them bears about them, that while they were alive they kept the law which was given them. The fourth order, because they understand the rest which they now enjoy, being gathered into their chambers and guarded by angels in deep quiet, and the glory which waits for them in the last days. The fifth order, because they celebrate that they have escaped what is perishable and will inherit what is to come. And besides, they see the difficulties and labor from which they have been delivered, and the wide freedom which they are to receive and enjoy in immortality. The sixth order, when it is shown to them how their face is to shine like the sun, and how they are to be made like the light of the stars, being unperishable from then on. The seventh order, which is greater than all that have been mentioned, because they will celebrate boldly, and will be confident without confusion, and will be glad without fear, for they hurry to him whom they served in life, and from whom they are to receive their reward when glorified. This is the order of the lives of the righteous, as is announced, and the previously mentioned are the ways of torment which those who would not listen will suffer afterwards. I answered, will time therefore be given to the souls, after they have been separated from their bodies, to see what you have described to me? He said to me, they will have freedom for 7 days, so that during these 7 days, they will see the things you have been told about, and afterwards they will be gathered in their habitations. I answered, if I have found favor in your sight, show further to me, your servant, whether on the day of judgment the righteous will be able to intercede for the ungodly, or to entreat the Most High for them, fathers for sons, or sons for parents, brothers for brothers, relatives for kinsmen, or friends for those who are most dear. He answered me and said, since you have found favor in my sight, I will show you this also. The day of judgment is decisive and displays the seal of truth to all. Excuse me. Let me get comfortable. Just as now a father does not send his son, or a son his father, or a master his servant, or a friend his dearest friend, to be ill, or sleep, or eat, or be healed in his stead, so no one will ever pray for another on that day, nor will anyone lay a burden on another. Everyone will bear his own righteousness and unrighteousness. I said, how then do we find that Abraham prayed for the people of Sodom, and Moshe for our fathers who sinned in the desert, and Yahushua after him for Israel in the days of Achan, and Samuel in the days of Saul, and David for the plague, and Solomon for those in the sanctuary, and Eliah for those who received the rain, and for the one who was dead that he might live, and Hezekiah for the people in the days of Sennacherib, and many others prayed for many others. If the righteous have prayed for the ungodly now, when perishability has increased and unrighteousness has multiplied, why will it not be so then as well? He answered me and said, this present world is not the end. The full glory does not stay in it. So those who were strong prayed for the weak. But the day of judgment will be the end of this age, and the beginning of the immortal age to come, in which perishability has passed away. Sinful indulgence has come to an end. Unbelief has been cut off, and righteousness has increased, and truth has appeared. No one will then be able to have mercy on the one who has been condemned in the judgment, or to harm the one who is victorious. I answered, this is my first and last word, that it would have been better if the earth had not produced Adam, or when it had produced him, had stopped him sinning. What good does it do that they live in sorrow now and expect punishment after death? Adam, what have you done? It was you who sinned, but the fall was not yours alone, but ours who are your descendants. What good does it do us if an eternal age has been promised to us, but we have done deeds that bring death? What good is it that an everlasting hope has been promised to us, but we have failed miserably, or that safe and healthful habitations have been reserved for us, but we have lived wickedly, or that the glory of the Most High will defend those who have led a clean life, but we have walked in the most wicked ways, or that a paradise will be revealed, whose fruit remains unspoiled, and in which are abundance and healing, but we will not enter it, because we have lived in inappropriate places, or that the faces of those who practice self-control will shine more than the stars, but our faces will be blacker than darkness. For while we lived and did wrong, we did not consider what we should suffer after death. He answered, This is the meaning of the this is the meaning of the contest which every man who is born on earth will wage. That if he is defeated, he will suffer what you have said. But if he is victorious, he will receive what I have said. What I have said. This is the way of which Moshe, while he was alive, spoke to the people and said, Choose for yourself life so that you may live. But they did not believe him, or the prophets after him, or even myself who spoke to them. There will not be grief at their destruction, so much as joy over those whom salvation is assured. I answered, Truth. I know that the Most High is called merciful, because he has mercy on those who have not yet come into the world, and gracious, because he is gracious to those who repent and turn to his law, and patient, because he shows patience to those who have sinned, because they are his own work, and bountiful, because he would rather give than take away, and very compassionate, because he makes his compassion abound more and more to those now living, and to those who are gone, and to those yet to come. For if he did not make them abound, the world with those who inhabit it would not have life. And he is called giver, because if he did not give out of his goodness, so that those who have committed wrongdoings might be relieved, not 1/10,000th of mankind could live and judge. Because if he did not pardon those who were created by his word and wipe out the multitude of their sins, there would be very few left of the countless multitude. Chapter 8. He answered me, The Most High made this world for the sake of many, but the world to come for the sake of few. But I will tell you a parable, Ezra. Just as, when you ask the earth, it will tell you that it provides abundant clay from which earthenware is made, but only a little dust from which gold comes. This is the course of the present world. Many have been created, but few will be saved. I answered, Then drink your fill of understanding, my life, and drink wisdom, my heart. You did not come into the world of your own will, and you will depart against your will, for you have been given only a short time to live. Truth over us, grant to your servant that we may pray to you, and give us descendants for our heart and cultivation of our understanding, so that fruit may be produced, by which every mortal man may be able to live. You alone do exist, and we are your work, as you have declared. You give life to the body, which is now fashioned in the womb, and furnish it with members. What you have created is preserved in fire and water. And for 9 months the womb, which you have formed, bears your creation, which has been created in it. But that which keeps and that which is kept will be kept by you. When the womb gives up again what has been created in it, you have commanded that from the members themselves, that is, from the breast milk, should be supplied, so that what has been made may be nourished for a time, and afterwards you will guide him in your mercy. You have reared him in your righteousness, and instructed him in your law, and reproached him by your wisdom. You will take away his life, for he is your creation, and you will make him live, for he is your work. If you suddenly and quickly destroy him, who with so great labor was made by your commandment, why then was he made? But now I will speak out. You know best about all mankind, but I will speak about your people, for whom I am grieved, and about your inheritance, for whom I lament, and about Israel, for whom I am sad, and about the descendants of Jacob, for whom I am troubled. I will pray to you for myself and for them, as I see the failings of us who live in the land. And I have heard of the swiftness of the judgment that is to come. Hear my voice and understand my words, and I will speak before you. The beginning of the words of Ezra's prayer before he was taken up. He said, Truth, who inhabits eternity, who is exalted, and whose upper chambers are in the air, whose throne is beyond measure, and whose glory is beyond comprehension, before whom the armies of angels stand trembling, and at whose command they are changed to wind and fire, whose word is sure, and whose utterances are certain, whose decrees are strong, and whose command is terrible, whose look dries up the depths, and whose annoyance makes the mountains melt away, and whose truth is established before. Truth. Hear the prayer of your servant, and listen to the petition of your creation. Hear my words. For as long as I live, I will speak, and as long as I have understanding, I will answer. Do look not on the sins of your people, but at those who have served you in truth. Do not regard the actions of those who act wickedly, but the actions of those who have kept your covenants while in difficulties. Do not think on those who have lived wickedly in your sight, but remember those who have willingly acknowledged that you are to be feared. Do not wish to destroy those who have had the ways of cattle, but regard those who have gloriously taught your law. Do not be angry with those who are considered worse than beasts, but love those who have always put their trust in your glory. For we and our fathers have passed our lives in ways that bring death, but you, because of us sinners, are called merciful. If you wish to pity on us, who do not act righteously, then you will be called merciful. For the righteous, who have many works laid up with you, will receive their reward for their actions. But what is man, that you are angry with him? What is a perishable race, that you are so bitter against it? For in truth, there is no one among those who have been born who has not acted wickedly, and there is no one who has not sinned among those who have existed. Truth, your righteousness and goodness will be declared when you are merciful to those who have no good deeds. He answered me, Some things you have spoken rightly, and it will come to pass as you have said. I will not concern myself about the fashionings of those who have sinned, or about their death, their judgment, or their destruction. But I will celebrate over the creation of the righteous, over their pilgrimage also, their salvation, and their receiving their reward. As I have spoken, therefore, so it will be. For just as the farmer sows seed on the ground and plants many seedlings, yet not all that have been sown will come up, and not all that were planted will take root. So too, those who have been sown in the world will not all be saved. I answered, If I have found favor before you, let me speak. For if the farmer's seed does not come up, because it has not received rain, or has been ruined by too much rain, it dies. But man, who has been formed by your hands, and is called your own image, because he is made like you, and for whose sake you have formed all things. Have you also made him like farmer's seed? No, truth over us. Please spare your people and have mercy on your inheritance, for you have mercy on your own creation. He answered, things that are present are for those who live now, and things that are in the future are for those who will live in the future. You fall you fall far short of being able to love my creation more than I love it. You have often compared yourself to the unrighteous. Do not do so. But even in this, you will be praiseworthy before the Most High, because you have humbled yourself, as is fitting, and have not held yourself righteous in order to receive the greatest glory. Much misery will affect those who inhabit the world in the last times, because they have had great pride. But think of your own case, and ask about the glory of those who are like yourself, because it is for you that paradise is opened. The tree of life is planted. The age to come is prepared. Plenty is provided. A city is built. Rest is appointed. Goodness is established, and wisdom completed beforehand. The root of evil is sealed up from you. Illness is banished from you, and death is hidden. Hell has fled, and perishability has been forgotten. Sorrows have passed away, and in the end, the treasure of immortality is revealed. So then, do not ask any more questions about the multitude of those who perish, for they also receive freedom. But they despised the Most High and were contemptuous of his law. They abandoned his ways. They have trampled on his righteous ones, and said that there is no God, though knowing that they must die. For just as the things I have predicted await you, so the thirst and torment which are prepared await them. The Most High did not intend that men should be destroyed, but they who were created have defiled the name of him who made them, and were ungrateful to him who prepared life for them. So then, my judgment is now drawing near. I have not shown this to all men, but only to you and a few like you. I said, truth, you have now shown me many of the signs which you will do in the last times, but you have not shown me when you will do them. Chapter 9. He answered, carefully consider, as when you see that a certain part of the predicted signs have happened. Then you will know that it is the very time when the Most High is about to visit the world which he has made. When earthquakes, uproar of peoples, plotting of nations, wavering of leaders, confusion of princes appear, then you will know that it was about these that the Most High spoke about from the days of old, from the beginning. For just as with everything that has occurred in the world, the beginning is evident, and the end is apparent, so too it is with the Most High. The beginnings have wonders and mighty works, and the ends have requital and signs. It will be that everyone who will be saved and will be able to escape because of his deeds, or because of the faith by which he has believed, will survive the dangers that have been predicted, and will see my salvation in my land and within my borders, which I have sanctified from the beginning. Then those who have now abused my ways will be astonished, and those who have rejected them contemptuously will live in torment. For as many as did not acknowledge me in their lifetime, although they received my benefits, and as many as scorned my law while they still had freedom, and did not understand but despised it while repentance was still open to them, these must acknowledge it after death while in torment. So then, do not continue to be curious as to how the ungodly will be punished, but ask how the righteous will be saved, those to whom the age belongs, and for whose sake the age was made. I answered, I said before, and I say now, and will say again, there are more who perish than those who will be saved, just as a wave is greater than a drop of water. He answered me, as is the field, so is the seed. As are the flowers, so are the colors. As is the work, so is the product. And as is the farmer, so is the threshing floor. There was a time in this age when I was preparing for those who now exist, before the world was made for them to live in. And no one opposed me, for no one existed. But now those who have been created in this world, which is supplied both with an abiding table and an unlimited field, have become fraudulent in their ways. I considered my world, and it was lost, and my earth, and it was in danger because of the devices of those who had come into it. I spared some with great difficulty. I saved for myself one grape out of a cluster, one plant out of a great forest. Let the multitude which has been born in vain perish, but let my grape and my plant be saved, because I have made them with much labor. But if you will let 7 more days pass, more pass, and do not fast in them, but go into a field of flowers where no house has been built, and eat only the flowers of the field. Taste no meat and drink no wine, but eat only flowers, and pray to the Most High continually. Then I will come and talk with you. So I went as he directed me into the field called Ardat. There I sat among the flowers and ate the plants of the field, and I was satisfied with the nourishment they gave me. After 7 days, as I lay on the grass, I was troubled again. My mouth was opened, and I said to the Most High, Truth, you showed yourself among us, to our fathers in the desert when they left Patah, and when they went into the untrodden and unfruitful desert. And you said, Hear me, Yisrael. Listen to me, descendants of Jacob. I sow my law in you, and it will produce fruit in you, and you will be glorified through it forever. Although our fathers received the law, they did not keep it, nor did they observe the statutes. Yet the fruit of the law did not perish, for it could not. Yet those who received it perished, because they did not keep what had been sown in them. It is the rule that when the ground has received seed, or the sea a ship, or any dish food or drink, and when it happens that what was sown, or what was launched, or what was put in is destroyed, then they are destroyed. But the things that held them remain. However, with us, this has not been the case. For we who have received the law and sinned will perish, as well as our heart which received it. However, the law does not perish, but remains in its glory. When I said these things in my heart, I lifted up my eyes and saw a woman on my right. She was mourning and crying loudly and was deeply upset. Her clothes were torn, and there were ashes on her head. I dismissed my thoughts and turned to her and said, Why are you crying? Why are you upset? She said to me, My truth, leave me alone to weep for myself and continue to mourn. I am very bitter and deeply afflicted. I asked her, What has happened to you? Tell me. She said, Your servant was barren and had no child, although I lived with my husband for 30 years. Every hour and every day during those 30 years, I prayed to the Most High night and day. After 30 years, the Most High heard your handmaid and looked on my low estate. He considered my distress and gave me a son. I celebrated greatly over him, I and my husband and all my neighbors. We gave great glory to the Mighty One. I reared him carefully. When he grew up and I came to take a wife for him, I set a day for the marriage feast. Chapter 10. But when my son entered his wedding chamber, he fell down dead. Then we all put out the lamps, and all my neighbors tried to console me, and I stayed quiet until the evening of the second day. But when they all stopped consoling me, I got up in the night and fled, and came to this field as you see. But now I do not intend to return to the city, but to stay here. I will not eat or drink, but I will mourn and fast without ceasing until I die. Then I broke off my reflections and answered her angrily. You most foolish of women, do you not see our mourning and what has happened to us? For Zion, the mother of us all, is in deep grief and affliction. It is appropriate to mourn now, because we are all mourning, and to be sad, because we are all sad. You are sorrowing for one son, but we, the whole world, are sorrowing for our mother. Now ask the earth, and she will tell you that it is she who ought to mourn over so many who have come into being on her. All have been born of her from the beginning, and more will come. Almost all will go to perdition, and a multitude of them are destined for destruction. Who then ought one mourn the more? She who lost so great a number, or you who are grieving for one? But if you say to me, my lamentation is not like the earth's, for I have lost the fruit of my womb, which I brought forth in pain and sorrow, but that it how it is with the earth, for the multitude that is in it now will go as it came. Then I will say to you, as you brought forth in sorrow, so the earth also has from the beginning given her fruit. That is, man, to him who made her. So keep your sorrow to yourself, and bravely bear your troubles. If you acknowledge that the Most High's decree is just, you will receive your son back in due time, and will be praised among women. So go into the city to your husband. She said to me, I will not go into the city, but I will die here. I spoke again to her and said, do not say that, but be persuaded because of the troubles of Zion, and be consoled because of the sorrow of Jerusalem. You can see that our sanctuary has been laid waste, our altar thrown down, our temple destroyed. Our harp has been laid low. Our song has been silenced. Our celebrating has been ended. The light of our lampstand has been put out. The ark of our covenant has been robbed. Our holy things have been defiled. The name by which we are called has been profaned. Our free men have suffered abuse. Our priests have been burned to death. Our Levites have gone into captivity. Our maidens have been defiled. Our wives have been raped. Our righteous men have been taken. Our little ones have been cast out. Our young men have been enslaved, and our strong men have been rendered powerless. Furthermore, Zion has now lost her glorious seal and has been given over to those who hate us. Shake off your great sadness and lay aside your many sorrows, so that the Mighty One may be merciful to you again, and the Most High may give you rest, a relief from your troubles. While I was talking to her, her face suddenly shone bright and flashed like lightning, so that I was too frightened to approach her. I was terrified. While I was wondering what this meant, she suddenly uttered a loud, fearful cry, and that the earth shook at the sound. I looked, And behold, the woman was no longer visible to me. There was an established city, and a place with huge foundations showed itself. I was afraid and cried with a loud voice, "Where is the angel Uriel, who came to me at first?" He was the one who brought me to this overpowering confusion. My end has become perishability, and my prayer a reproach. As I was saying this, the angel who had come to me at first came, and he looked at me. I lay there like a corpse, and I was deprived of my understanding. He grasped my right hand, strengthened me, and set me on my feet, and said to me, "What is wrong with you? Why are you troubled? Why are your understanding and your thoughts troubled?" I said, "Because you have deserted me. I did as you said, and went into the field. I saw, and still see, what I am unable to explain." He said to me, "Stand up like a man, and I will instruct you." I said, "My Lord, speak. Only do not abandon me, lest I die before my time. I have seen what I did not know, and I've heard what I do not understand. Or am I deceived? Am I dreaming? So then I beg you to give your servant an explanation of this bewildering vision." He said, "Listen to me, and I will tell you about the things which you fear. For the Most High has revealed many secrets to you. He has seen your righteous behavior, and that you have continually sorrowed for your people, and mourned greatly over Zion. For this is the meaning of the vision. The woman who appeared to you a little while ago, whom you saw mourning and began to console, but now you do not see the form of a woman, but an established city has appeared to you. And as for her telling you about her son, this is the interpretation. This woman whom you saw, whom you now see as an established city, is Zion. As for her telling you that she was barren for 30 years, it is because there were 3,000 years. 3,000, goddamn. It is because there were 3,000 years before any offering was offered in it. After 3,000 years, Solomon built the city and made offerings. That was when the barren woman bore a son. As for her telling you that she reared him carefully, that was the time of residence in Jerusalem. As for her saying to you, when my son entered his wedding chamber, he died, and that misfortune had struck her, that was the destruction which befell Jerusalem. You saw her likeness, how she mourned for her son, and you consoled her. For the Most High, seeing that you are grieved and very distressed for her, has shown you the brilliance of her glory and the loveliness of her beauty. So then I told you to remain in the field where no house has been built, for I knew that the Most High would reveal these things to you. So then I told you to go to the field where there was no foundation of any building, and no man-made work could last in a place where the city of the Most High was to be revealed. So then, do not be afraid, and do not be terrified, but go in and see the magnificence and immensity of the building, as far as it is possible for to see it. And afterwards, you will hear as much as you can hear. You are more blessed than many, and you have called before the Most High, as few have been. Tomorrow night you will stay here, and the Most High will show you in dream visions what he will do to those who live on earth in the last days. I slept that night and the following one, as he had ordered me. Chapter 11. On the second night I had a dream. An eagle that had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads came up from the sea. He spread his wings over all the earth. All the winds of heaven blew on him, and the clouds were gathered around him. Out of his wings grew opposing wings, which became weak little wings. But his heads were at rest. The middle head was larger than the other heads, but it was also was at rest. But it also was at rest. The eagle flew to reign over the earth and over those who live in it. I saw how all things under heaven were subjected to him, and no one spoke against him, not even one creature that was on the earth. The eagle arose on his talons and cried to his wings, "Do not all watch at the same time, each sleep in your own place, and watch in turn. Heads, be reserved for the last." The voice did not come from his heads, but from the middle of his body. I counted his opposing wings, and there were 8 of them. One wing arose on the right side, and it ruled the whole earth. While it was ruling, it came to an end and disappeared, and was no longer to be seen. Then the next wing arose and it ruled for a long time. While it was reigning, its end came too, and it disappeared like the first. A voice sounded and said, "Hear me, you who have ruled the earth all this time. I am announcing this to you before you disappear. After you, no one will rule as long as you, or even half as long." Then the third wing raised itself up and ruled like the former ones. Then it too disappeared. This was the case with all the wings. They wielded power one after another, and then were never seen again. In time, the wings that followed also left on the right side in order to rule. There were some of them that ruled, yet disappeared suddenly, and others of them left, but did not rule. The 12 wings and the 2 little wings disappeared. Nothing stayed on the eagle's body except the 3 heads that were at rest, and 6 little wings. 2 little wings separated from the 6 and stayed under the head that was on the right side, but 4 stayed in their place. These little wings planned to set themselves up to rule. One was set up, but suddenly disappeared, as did a second too, but it disappeared more quickly than the first. The two that stayed planned between themselves to rule together. And while they were planning, the head was in the middle awoke. It was bigger than the other 2 heads. I saw how it allied the 2 heads with itself. The head turned with those with it, and ate the 2 little wings which were planning to rule. This head gained control over the whole earth, and greatly oppressed its inhabitants. It had far greater power over the world than all the previous wings. The middle head also suddenly disappeared, just as the wings had done. But the 2 heads stayed, and they also ruled the earth and its inhabitants. The head on the right side ate the one on the left. Then I heard a voice saying to me, "Look in front of you and consider what you see." A creature like a lion was stirred and came out of the forest, roaring, and I heard how he spoke in a man's voice to the eagle and said, "Listen, and I will speak to you. The Most High says to you, aren't you the one that remains of the 4 animals which I had made rule in my world, so that the end of my times would come through them? You, the 4th that has come, have conquered all the animals that have gone before, and you have held sway over the world with much terror, over the whole earth with dreadful oppression, and you have lived on the earth with deceit. You have judged the earth, but not truthfully. As you have afflicted the humble and harmed the peaceful, you have hated those who tell the truth, and have loved liars. You have destroyed the souls of those who produce fruit, and have struck down the walls of those who did you no harm. Your impertinence has come up before the Most High, and your pride to the Mighty One. The Most High has looked on his times, and they are over, I guess. His ages have come to an end. So then you will certainly disappear, eagle. and your terrifying wings, your evil little wings, your malevolent heads, your evil talons, and your whole worthless body, so that the whole earth, free from your violence, can be revived and relieved, and set their hope for judgment and mercy from him who made it. Chapter 12. While the lion was saying these words to the eagle, I looked, and the remaining head disappeared. The two wings that had gone over to it arose to rule, but their reign was short and full of commotion. They also disappeared, and the eagle's whole body was burned, and the earth was very afraid. Then I awoke in great confusion and fear, and said to myself, You have brought this on me. You have brought this on me, because you search out the ways of the Most High. My mind is still weary, and my spirit is very weak, and I have only a little strength left, because of the great fear which has terrified me this night. I will now beg the Most High to strengthen me to the end. I said, Sovereign truth, if I have found favor in your sight, and if I have been considered righteous before you beyond many others, and if my prayer has indeed gone up to you, strengthen me and show me, your servant, the interpretation and meaning of this terrifying vision in order to fully comfort me. You have judged me worthy to be shown the end of the times and the last events of the times. He said to me, This is the interpretation of the vision you have seen. The eagle which you saw coming up from the sea is the fourth kingdom, which appeared in a vision to your brother Daniel. However, it was not explained to him as I now explain it to you. The time is coming when a kingdom will arise on earth, and it will be more terrifying than all the kingdoms that have gone before. 12 kings will rule it, one after another, but the second that is to rule will hold sway for a longer time than any other of the 12. This is the interpretation of the 12 wings which you saw. As for your hearing a voice that spoke, a voice that did not come from the eagle's heads, but from the middle of his body, this is the interpretation. In the midst of the time of that kingdom, great struggles will arise, and it will be in danger of falling. However, it will not fall then, but will regain its former power. As for your seeing 8 little wings clinging to his wings, this is the interpretation. 8 kings will arise in it, whose times will be short and their years swift. 2 of them will perish when the middle of its time draws near. 4 will be kept for the time when its end approaches, but 2 will be kept until the end. As for your seeing 3 heads at rest, this is the interpretation. In its last days, the Most High will raise up 3 kings, and they will renew many things in it, and will rule the earth and its inhabitants more oppressively than all who went before. So they are called the heads of the eagle. They are the ones who will sum up his wickedness and perform his last actions. As for your seeing that the large head disappeared, one of the kings will die in his bed, but in agony. As for the 2 who stayed, the sword will consume them. The sword of one will consume him who was with him, and he also will fall by the sword in the last days. As for your seeing 2 little wings passing over the head which was on the right side, this is the interpretation. It is these whom the Most High has kept for the eagle's end. This was the reign which was brief and full of tumult, as you have seen. As for the lion whom you saw rising up out of the forest, roaring and speaking to the eagle, and reproving him for his unrighteousness, and as for all his words that you have heard, this is the Mashiach, whom the Most High has kept until the end of days, who will arise from the posterity of David, and will come and speak to them. He will condemn them for their ungodliness and wickedness, and will throw their contemptuous dealings in their face. At first he will set them living before his judgment seat, and when he has reproved them, and then he will destroy them. But as he is merciful, he will deliver the remnant of my people, those who have been saved throughout my borders, and he will make them happy until the end comes, the day of judgment, of which I spoke to you at the beginning. This is the dream that you saw, and this is its interpretation. You alone were worthy to learn this secret of the Most High. So then, write everything you have seen in a book, and hide it, and teach it to the wise among your people, who you know will be able to understand and keep these secrets. But wait here 7 days more, so that you may be shown whatever it pleases the Most High to show you. Then he left me. When all the people heard that the 7 days were past, and I had not returned to the city, they all gathered from the least to the greatest, and came and said to me, How have we offended you? And what harm have we done to you, that you deserted us and sit in this place? You alone of all the prophets are left to us, like a cluster of grapes from the vintage, like a lamp in a dark place, and like a haven for a ship saved from a storm. Are not the evils which have befallen us enough? So if you have abandoned us, how much better it would have been for us if we also had been burned in Zion. For we are no better than those who died there. They cried loudly. Then I said, Yisrael, be brave. House of Jacob, do not be sad. The Most High remembers you, and the Mighty One has not forgotten your struggle. As for me, I have neither deserted you nor withdrawn from you. I have come to this place to pray because of the desolation of Zion, and to seek mercy because of the disgrace of our sanctuary. Now all of you go to your houses, and after this I will come to you. The people went into the city, as I told them to do. I sat in the field for 7 days, as the angel had commanded me, and I ate only the flowers of the field, and my food was plants throughout that time. Chapter 13. After 7 days, I had a dream in the night. A wind arose from the sea and stirred up all its waves. The wind made something that looked like a man come up out of the heart of the sea, I looked, the man flew with the clouds of heaven, and wherever he turned his face to look, everything trembled under his gaze. And whenever his voice issued from his mouth, all who heard his voice melted as wax melts when heated. Then a countless number of men was gathered from the four winds of heaven to make war against the man who had come from the sea. He carved out a great mountain and flew up on it. I tried to see the region or place from which the mountain was carved, but I could not. Then all who had gathered to wage war against him were very afraid, although they still dared to fight. When he saw the onrush of the approaching multitude, he did not lift his hand or hold a spear or any weapon of war, but I only saw what looked like a stream of fire coming out of his mouth, and a flaming breath out of his lips, and a storm of sparks from his tongue. All these were mingled, the stream of fire, the flaming breath, and the great storm, and fell on the onrushing multitude, which was ready to fight, and burned them all up, so that suddenly nothing was seen of the countless multitude, but only the dust of ashes and the smell of smoke. When I saw it, I was amazed. After this, I saw the same man come down from the mountain and call another multitude, which was peaceful. Then many people came to him, some of whom were happy, and some of whom were sad. Some of them were bound, and some were bringing others as offerings. Then I awoke, very afraid, and I sought the Most High and said, From the beginning, you have shown these wonders to your servant, and have found me worthy to hear my prayer. So now show me the interpretation of this dream too. As I considered it, alas, for those who will be left in those days, even more so, alas, for those who are not left. Those who are not left will be sad, because they understand what is reserved for the last days, but cannot attain it. Alas, for those who are left, and for that very reason, for they will see great dangers and much distress, as these dreams show. Yet it is better to come into these things, though incurring peril, than to pass from the world like a cloud, and not see what will happen in the last days. He answered me, I will tell you the interpretation of the vision, and I will explain to you the things you have mentioned. As for what you said about those who are left, this is the interpretation. He who brings the peril at that time will protect those who fall into peril, who have faith in the Almighty. Understand that those who are left are more blessed than those who have died. This is the interpretation of the vision. The man who came up from the heart of the sea is the one whom the Most High has been keeping for many ages, who will deliver his creation, and he will direct those who are left. As for your seeing wind and fire and a storm coming out of his mouth, and as for his not holding a spear or weapon of war, yet destroying the rushing multitude which came to conquer him, this is the interpretation. The days are coming when the Most High will deliver those who are on the earth. Those who live on earth will be confused. They will plan to make war against one another, city against city, place against place, people against people, and kingdom against kingdom. When these things happen, and the signs which I showed you before occur, then my son, whom you saw as a man coming up from the sea, will be revealed. When all the nations hear his voice, every man will leave his own land and the warfare against one another, and a countless crowd will be gathered, as you saw, wanting to conquer him. But he will stand on the top of Mount Zion. Zion will come and be revealed to all, prepared and built, as you saw the mountain carved out without hands. He, my son, will reproach the assembled nations for their ungodliness. This was symbolized by the storm. He will reproach them with their evil thoughts and with how they are to be tortured. This was symbolized by the flames. He will destroy them effortlessly by the law, which was symbolized by the fire. As for your seeing him gather another multitude that was peaceful, these are the 10 tribes which are led away from their own land into captivity in the days of King Hoshea, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Syrians, took captive. He took them across the river, and they were taken to another land. They formed the plan to leave the multitude of the nations and go to a more distant region where mankind had never lived, so that there at least they could keep their statutes, which they had not kept in their own land. They went in by the narrow passages of the Euphrates River. The Most High performed signs for them and stopped the channels of the river until they had passed over. There was a long way to go. Through that region, a journey of a year and a half. That country is called Arzareth. They lived there until the last times. Now, when they are about to come again, the Most High will stop the channels of the river again, so that they can pass over. So you saw the multitude gathered peacefully. Those who are left of your people, who are found within my holy borders, will be saved. So when he destroys the multitude of the nations that are gathered, he will defend the people who remain. Then he will show them many wonders. I said, Sovereign truth, Explain to me, why did I see the man coming up from the heart of the sea? He said to me, just as no man can explore or know what is in the depths of the sea, so too no man on earth can see my son or those with him, except in this time. This is the interpretation of the dream you saw. You alone have been enlightened about this, because you deserted your own ways and applied yourself to mine, and have searched out my law. You have devoted your life to wisdom, and called understanding your mother. So then I have shown you this, for there is a reward laid up with the Most High. After 3 more days, I will tell you other things, and explain weighty, amazing matters to you. Then I left and walked in the field, giving great glory and praise to the Most High, because of his wonders, which he did from time to time, and because he governs the times, and whatever things come to pass in their seasons. I stayed there for 3 days. Chapter 14. On the 3rd day, while I was sitting under an oak, a voice out of a bush opposite me said, Ezra, Ezra. I said, Here I am, Most High. Here I am, truth. I got to my feet. He said to me, I revealed myself in a bush and spoke to Moshe when my people were in bondage in Patah. I sent him and led my people out of Patah. I led him up on Mount Sinai, where I kept him with me for many days. I told him many amazing things. I showed him the secrets of the times and declared to him the end of the times. Then I commanded him, these words you are to publish openly, but these you will keep secret. But now I say to you, store in your heart the signs that I have shown you, the dreams you have seen, and the interpretations you have heard. For you will be taken up from among men, and then you will live with my son, and with those who are like you, until the times have ended. The age has lost its youth, and the times begin to grow old. The age is divided into 12 parts, and 9 of its parts have already passed, as well as half of the 10th part. So 2 of its parts remain, besides half of the 10th part. So then, set your house in order, and reprove your people. Comfort the lowly among them, and instruct those who are wise. Renounce the life that is perishable, and put away mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of man, and rid yourself of your weak nature. Lay to one side the thoughts that are most dreadful to you, and hurry to escape from these times. Evils worse than those which you have now seen happen, will be done afterwards. The weaker the world becomes through old age, the more will evil be increased among its inhabitants. Truth will go farther away, and falsehood will come near. The eagle which you saw in the vision is already hurrying to come. I answered, let me speak in your presence, truth. I will go as you have commanded me, and I will reproach the people who are now living, but who will warn those who will be born afterwards? The world lies in darkness, and its inhabitants are without light. Your law has been burned, and so no one knows the things which have been done or will be done by you. If I have found favor in your sight, send the Holy Spirit into me, and I will write everything that has happened in the world from the beginning, the things which were written in your law, so that men may be able to find the path, and that those who wish to live in the last days may live. He said, gather the people, and tell them not to look for you for 40 days. But prepare many writing tablets, and take Sariah, Debria, Salemia, Ithanas, and Asiel with you. These 5, because they are trained to write quickly. Then come here, and I will light the lamp of understanding in your heart, and it will not be put out until what you are about to write is finished. When you have finished, some things you will make public, and some you will deliver in secret to the wise. You will begin to write tomorrow at this hour. I went as he commanded me, and I gathered all the people and said, Yisrael, hear these words. At first our fathers lived as foreigners in Ptah, and they were saved from there, and received the law of life, which they did not keep, which you also have sinned after them. Land was given to you as a possession in the land of Zion, but you and your fathers sinned and did not keep the ways which the Most High commanded you. Because he is a righteous judge, he took from you what he had given to you. But now you are here, and your brethren are further inland. If you rule over your minds and discipline your hearts, you will be kept alive, and after death you will obtain mercy. For after death the judgment will come, when we live again, and then the names of the righteous will become known, and the deeds of the ungodly will be revealed. Do not let anyone come to me now, and let no one seek me for 40 days. I took the 5 men as he commanded me, and we went to the field and stayed there. On the next day, a voice said, Ezra, open your mouth and drink what I give you. I opened my mouth, and a full cup was offered to me, and a full cup was offered to me. It was full of something like water, but its color was like fire. I took it and drank it, and then my heart poured forth understanding, and my wisdom increased, for my spirit retained its memory, and my mouth was opened and was no longer closed. The Most High gave understanding to the 5 men, and by turn they wrote what was dictated in characters which they did not know. They sat for 40 days and wrote during the daytime and ate at night. As for me, I spoke in the daytime and was not silent at night. 94 books were written during the 40 days. When the 40 days were over, the Most High said to me, make public the 24 books that you wrote first, and let both the worthy and the unworthy read them. But keep the 70 that were written last, in order to give to them to the wise among your people. In them is the spring of understanding, the fountain of wisdom, and the river of knowledge. I did so. Chapter 15. The truth says, say to my people, the words of the prophecy I will put in your mouth, and cause them to be written on paper, for they are trustworthy and true. Do not fear the plots against you, and do not be troubled by the disbelief of those who oppose you. Every unbeliever will die by his unbelief. I'll bring evils on the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Wrongdoing has spread throughout every land, and their harmful deeds have reached their limit. Therefore, says the truth, I will no longer be silent about their ungodly deeds, which they impiously commit. Nor will I tolerate their wicked deeds. Innocent and righteous blood cries out to me. Innocent and righteous blood cries out to me, and the souls of the righteous cry out continually. I will certainly avenge them, says the truth, and will receive all the innocent blood from among them. My people are led like a flock to the slaughter. I will not allow them to live in the land of Ptah any longer. But I will bring them out with a mighty hand and with an uplifted arm, and will strike Ptah with plagues as before, and will destroy all its lands. Let Ptah mourn and its foundations for the plague of chastisement and punishment that the truth will bring on it. Let the farmers that till the ground mourn. Let the farmers that till the ground mourn, because their seed will fail and their trees will be ruined by blight, hail, and by severe storm. By blight, hail, and by severe storm. 17 pages left. Oh my God. Woe for the world and those who live in it. For the sword and misery approach, and nation will fight against nation with swords in their hands. There will be unrest among men, for growing strong against one another, they will in their might have no respect for their king or the chief of their leaders. A man will desire to go into a city, but will not be able. The cities will be in confusion because of their pride. The houses will be destroyed, and people will be afraid. A man will have no pity on his neighbors, but will assault their houses with the sword, and plunder their goods, because of hunger for bread, and because of great misfortune. I call together all the kings of the earth to fear me, from the rising sun and from the south, from the east and from Lebanon, to turn back and repay what they have given them. Just as they have done to my chosen until today, so I will do, and will repay unto them, thus says the true God. My right hand will not spare the sinners, and my sword will not stay from those who shed innocent blood on earth. A fire will go out of his anger, and will consume the foundations of the earth, and the sinners like straw that is kindled. Woe to those who sin and do not keep my commandments, says the truth. I will not spare them. Depart, you faithless children. Do not defile my sanctuary. The truth knows all who sin against him. He will hand them over to death and slaughter. Disasters have come upon all the earth, and the Most High will not deliver you because you have sinned against him. A terrifying sight appearing from the east. The nations of the dragons of Arabia will come out with many chariots, and from the time that they set out, their hissing will spread over the earth, and all who hear them fear and tremble. The Carmonians, with raging anger, will go out like wild boars of the forest, and with great power they will engage them in battle, and will devastate a portion of the land of the Assyrians with their teeth. Then the dragons, remembering their origin, will become even stronger, and if they combine in great power and turn to pursue them, then they will be disorganized and silenced by their power, and will flee from them. An enemy in ambush from the land of the Assyrians will attack them and destroy one of them. And fear and trembling will come on their enemy, on their army, and indecision on their kings. There will be clouds from the east and from the north to the south. They look very threatening, full of wrath and storm. They will dash against one another and will pour a severe storm on the earth, in their own storm, and there will be blood from the sword as high as a horse's belly, a man's thigh, and a camel's hock. There will be fear and great trembling on the earth, and those who see that anger will be stricken with dread and seized by trembling. After that, heavy storm clouds will be stirred up from the south and from the north, and another part from the west. The winds from the east will prevail over the cloud that was raised in anger, and will disperse it. The storm that was to cause destruction by the east wind will be driven violently toward the south and west. Great, mighty clouds, full of anger and storm, will rise to destroy the whole earth and its inhabitants, and will pour a severe storm on every high place. Fire, hail, flying swords, and floods of water, so that all the fields and all the streams are filled with the abundant waters. They will destroy cities and walls, mountains and hills, trees of the forest, and grass of the meadows, and their grain. They will go on to Babylon and will destroy her. They will come to her and surround her. They will pour out the storm and all its anger on her. Then the dust and smoke will go up to the sky, and all who are about her will wail over her. Those who survive will serve those who have destroyed her. You, Asia, who share in the glamour of Babylon and her glory, woe to you, miserable wretch. Miserable wretch. You have made yourself like her. You have covered your daughters in harlotry to please and glory in your lovers who have always lusted after you. You have imitated that hateful harlot in all her deeds and devices. The Most High says, I will send evils on you, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to lay waste your houses and bring destruction and death on you. The glory of your power will wither like a flower when the heat rises that is sent on you. You will be weakened like a wretched woman who is beaten and wounded, so that you cannot receive your mighty lovers. Would I have dealt with you so violently, says the truth, if you had not always killed my chosen people, gloating and clapping your hands and talking about their death when you were drunk? Trick out your beauty. The reward of a harlot is in your bosom. Therefore, you will receive your reward. As you will do to my chosen people, says the truth, the Most High will do to you, and will hand you over to difficulties. Your children will die of hunger. You will fall by the sword. Your cities will be wiped out, and all your people who are in the open country will fall by the sword. Those who are in the mountains and highlands will die of hunger. They will eat their own flesh and hunger for bread and drink their own blood and thirst for water. Unhappy above all others, you will come and suffer new difficulties. As they pass, they will destroy the hateful city, and will destroy a part of your land and a portion of your glory, as they return from devastated Babylon. You will be broken down by them like a stubble, and they will be like fire to you. They will consume you and your cities, your land and your mountains. They will burn all your forests and your fruitful trees. They will carry your children away captive. They will plunder your wealth and abolish your glory. Chapter 16. Woe to you, Babylon and Asia. Woe to you, Tyre and Syria. Gird yourselves with sackcloth and haircloth, and wail and lament for your children, for your destruction is at hand. The sword has been sent on you, and who is there to turn it back? A fire has been sent on you, and who is there to quench it? Disasters have been sent on you, and who is there to drive them away? Can you drive off a hungry lion in the forest, or quench a fire in the stubble? When once it has started, can one turn back an arrow shot by a strong archer? The true Most High, or the true God, sends disasters, and who will drive them away? Fire will go out from his anger, and who is there to quench it? He will flash lightning, and who will not be afraid? He will thunder, and who will not be terrified? The truth will threaten, and who will not be shattered at his presence? The earth and its foundations quake. The sea is churned up from the depths. Its waves and the fish also will be troubled at the presence of the truth and the glory of his power. His right hand that bends the bow is strong. Excuse me for just a second. His right hand that bends the bow is strong, and his arrows are sharp and will not miss when they are shot to the ends of the world. Disasters, I'm assuming, are sent and will not return until they go over the earth. The fire is kindled and will not be put out until it consumes the foundations of the earth. Just as an arrow shot by a mighty archer does not return, so calamities that are sent on the earth will not return. Alas for me, who will deliver me in those times? The beginning of sorrows, when there will be much lamentation, the beginning of famine, when many will die, the beginning of wars, when the powers will be terrified, the beginning of disasters, when all will quake. What will they do in these circumstances? What will they do in these circumstances when the disasters come? Famine, plague, tribulation, and torments are sent as scourges for the correction of men. Yet they will not turn from their wrongdoings, or be always mindful of the scourges. Provision will be so cheap on the earth that men will think that peace is assured. And then the disasters will spring up on the earth, the sword, famine, and great confusion. Many of those who live on the earth will perish by famine, and those who survive will die by the sword. The dead will be thrown away like manure, and there will be no one to comfort them. For the earth will be deserted, and its cities will be demolished. No one will be left to cultivate the earth or to sow it. The trees will bear fruit, and who will gather it? The grapes will ripen, and who will tread them? There will be great solitude everywhere. One man will long to see another, or even to hear his voice. Out of a city, 10 will be left, and out of the field, 2 who have hidden themselves in thick groves and clefts in the rocks. As in an olive orchard, 3 or 4 olives may be left on every tree, or as when a vineyard is gathered, some clusters may be left by those who search carefully through the vineyard. So in those times, 3 or 4 will be left by those who search their houses with the sword. The earth will be left desolate, and its fields will be briars, and its roads and all its paths will produce thorns, because no sheep will go along them. Maidens will mourn because they have no bridegrooms. Women will mourn because they have no husbands. Their daughters will mourn because they have no helpers. Their bridegrooms will be killed in war, and their husbands will die from the famine. Listen now to these things, and understand them, servants of the truth. This is the word of the truth. Receive it. Do not disbelieve what the truth says. The calamities draw near and are not delayed. Just as a woman with child in the 9th month, when the time of her delivery approaches, has great pains about her womb for 2 or 3 hours beforehand. When the child comes out of the womb, there will not be a moment's delay. So the calamities will not delay in coming forth on the earth, and the world will groan, and pains will seize it from every side. My people, hear my words. Prepare for battle, and be like strangers on the earth in the midst of the disaster. Let him that sells be like one who will flee. Let him that buys be like one who will lose. Let him that does business be like one who will not make a profit. And let him that builds a house be like one who will not live in it. Let him that sows be like one who will not reap. Let him that prunes the vines like one who will not gather the grapes. Them that marry like those who will have no children, and them that do not marry like those who are widowed. Because those who labor in vain. Strangers will gather their fruits, plunder their goods, overthrow their houses, and take their children captive. They will father their children in captivity and famine. Those who conduct business do it only to be plundered. The more they adorn their cities, houses, possessions, and their persons, the more angry I will be with them for their sins, says the truth. Just as a respectable respectable, virtuous woman hates a harlot, so righteousness will hate sin when she decks herself out and will accuse her to her face. When he comes, who will defend him who searches out every sin on earth? Do be like her or her deeds. In a short time, wickedness will be removed from the earth, and righteousness will reign over us. Do not let a sinner say that he has not sinned, for the Most High will burn coals of fire on the head of him who says, I have not sinned before the Most High in his glory. The truth knows all the actions of men, their imaginations, their thoughts, and their hearts. He said, let the earth be made, and it was made. Let the heaven be made, and it was made. At his word the stars were fixed, and he knows the number of the stars. It is he who searches the deep and its treasures. It is he who has measured the sea and its contents, who has enclosed the sea, the midst of the waters, and by his word has suspended the earth over the water, who has spread out the skyline, who has spread out the sky like an arch, who has spread out the sky like an arch, and founded it on the waters, who has put springs of water in the desert, and pools on the top and pools on the tops of the mountains, and to send rivers from the heights to water the earth, who formed man and put a heart in his body, and gave him breath, life, and understanding, and the spirit of the Almighty Most High, who made all things and searches out hidden things in hidden places. Surely he knows your imaginations and thoughts. Woe to those who sin and try to hide their sins. The truth will examine all their works and will make a public display of all of you. When your sins are revealed before men, you will be put to shame, and your own wrongdoings will stand as your accusers in that day. What will you do? How will you hide your sins before the Most High and his angels? The Most High is the judge. Fear him. Stop sinning. Forget your wrongdoings and never commit them again. The Most High will lead you out and deliver you from all misfortune. The burning anger of a great crowd is kindled over you, and they will carry off some of you, and will feed you what was sacrificed to idols. Those eat will be held in scorn and contempt, and will be trodden underfoot. For in many places and in neighboring cities there will be a great rebellion against those who fear the Most High. They will be like madmen, sparing no one, but plundering and destroying those who fear the Most High. They will destroy and plunder their goods and drive them out of their houses. Then the quality of my chosen will be manifest, as gold that is tested by fire. Hear, my elect, says the Most High. The days of tribulation are at hand, and I will deliver you from them. Do not fear or doubt, for the Most High is your guide. You who keep my commandments and instructions, says the true Most High. Do not let your sins pull you down, or your wrongdoings will overcome you. Woe to those who are choked by their sins and overwhelmed by their wrongdoings. As a field is choked with undergrown. Woe to those who are choked by their sins and overwhelmed by their wrongdoings. As a field is choked with undergrowth and its path overcome by thorns, so that no one can pass through. It is shut off and will be consumed by fire. So that is the end. I want to thank you guys for watching. Like I said, it was very interesting to read. It had a lot of interesting information, and it gave a greater perspective on the end times, as do all of these apocalyptic books and books of the prophets, with the prophecies of the end times regarding to Israel's captivity and their redemption. So, like I said, it was very interesting. I'm glad we got to share this experience together. It was really eye-opening for me, and I feel like I have a greater understanding of what's in store, what's to come. And I'm grateful for that. All praises to the Most High God of Israel for that. And all praise to the Most High God for bestowing the Holy Spirit upon me of knowledge, wisdom, truth, understanding, love, light. All praise be to the Most High for those of you that support me and have followed me through this journey. Even though, I started my journey a long time ago in like 2014 as far as my spiritual awakening. And it slowed down. It progressed up until 2018, and then it slowed down up until now. But I know as a human, as a person, I am still learning. So, like I said, I praise the Most High for you all being here on this journey with me. Times are not getting better. They're only going to get worse. But worse for those who don't live righteously, or don't at least attempt to live righteously. Those who have wronged the Most High's chosen, and those of us who are a part of Israel who have chosen the side of the enemy rather than the side of the righteous, the side of the Most High. So like I said, also one other thing, that word elect, ELECT, in the book of Ezra is also in the book of Enoch. In the book of Enoch, one of the books of Enoch. I haven't read all the books, but the first book of Enoch, I'm assuming, and it talks about the elect a lot in the first book of Enoch. So there was just something else I wanted to point out, showing you how it's tied into not only the Bible, like through the book of Revelations and the other prophets, but also it's tied into the other lost books as well. Like I said, with the book of Enoch, and I'm sure other so-called lost books of the Bible as well, whether it be in the Apocrypha, the Pseudepigrapha, the Dead Sea Scrolls, whatever. So, yeah, so the word elect is also used in the Bible a lot, as you can see. But I was just saying that to say, don't discredit it, but you can take what you've read and heard with a grain of salt. But to me, it seems to align with Scripture. So that's why I wanted to have this this study, you could say. That's why I wanted to have this study and this this teaching or whatever, this little focus group. So all praise to the Most High God of Israel. We pray for Israel's speedy redemption and redeeming salvation. All praise to the Most High God for bestowing his chosen with the Holy Spirit, the spirit of wisdom, knowledge, truth, love, light, understanding. And also, all praise be to the Most High for the prophets, including the prophet Christ, whom he sent to, who was the last prophet that he sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and through who we have a lot of the information that we have today. All praise to the Most High for friends and family. I hope that you all be blessed, you all be safe, and you all stay prayed up. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you when I post the next video.